Alright, so we're back, and Fortnite has laid off a ton of people. Now, the Fortnite, Epic Games. This isn't the first time that we've seen layoffs from companies like this, especially not recently, and especially not in the last couple of years as the AAA bubble started to kind of burst. Fortnite is starting to go down with it. Now, I am definitely not a huge fan of it as of recently. I haven't been a huge fan of it for years, and part of that has been growing older. The creative side of it turning into basically a Roblox did bring me back for a little bit. I liked Playground a little more at times. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but there was that and everything. And then it was just collab after collab after collab of people I don't care about because I'm not 10. I'm not one of those younger kids like I used to be when I started playing the game when I was in middle school back in like season 5, season 6, and then really started playing in season 7. It's not that kind of game anymore. Now it's about we got Snoop Dogg, we got this person, that person, this cartoon, that cartoon. You know, Kim Kardashian, which I still think is such a dumb collab. But stuff like that where it's starting to bleed people. But now they're laying off over 1,000 workers. And in their statement, Epic Games would say it was, quote, or it was because of a, quote, downturn in engagement, unquote. The Epic Games boss, Tim Sweeney, would come out and say, quote, that the company was, I've done this twice, that the company was, quote, spending significantly more money than we're making, unquote, meaning it now had to make, quote, major cuts to keep the company funded, unquote. So they are now doing that, and this is after they raised the price of V-Bucks, which was a huge thing that a lot of fans didn't like. I definitely didn't like, and I know a lot of people that do play the game more than me didn't like it. Even I don't play the game often, and I didn't like it. I only really play it when there's friends playing it, and if they're not playing it, I don't play it. But even then, I'm sitting here going, that's ridiculous, guys. They would also say, quote, today we're laying off over 1,000 Epic employees, unquote. They would also go on to say that, quote, the downturn in Fortnite engagement that started in 2025 means we're spending significantly more than we're making, and we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded, unquote. And they also said it would save 500 million plus in identified cost savings to lay off these 1,000 people. Now, some big people did get laid off from this. One of them was a former employee that did a lot of their immediate day one bug fixes and pushed a lot of those out. Losing people like that are very important. And some of those cuts were not probably the right cuts, even though they were the cuts of like seniored people who have a big impact and are obviously getting paid that way. But that's not. Those aren't necessarily the smartest cuts. They are just in a numbers sheet, in an Excel sheet. They're not in a human sort of way, in a morality sort of way. Some of these cuts were not necessarily the most morally right firings, or smartest at times. If you're not looking at it as just numbers and dollar signs. But that quote also says, started in 2025. That, to me, a lot of people are saying, oh, that means the 2025 year. I take that as meaning to now. So even the beginning of 2026. So I think a lot of people aren't necessarily mentioning that that's also, it seems like it's factored in that it started in 2025. They don't say when in, and they don't say when it ended. So it's probably a to now thing. They would also say that it was industry-wide challenges, quote unquote, and that it was, quote, slower growth, weaker spending, and tougher cost economics, unquote, which is very true. They mentioned that current consoles were selling less than last generation, which I don't see what that necessarily has to do with Fortnite, because a lot of console spending usually is people upgrading up. So a lot of people didn't upgrade up and stayed on old consoles and can still play Fortnite. I don't necessarily know what that necessarily has to do, even though most people who buy or don't buy a console are case by case, person by person. a lot of people I know, it's either a lot of people do upgrade or don't upgrade. That's usually what a good amount of the people buying are. Not all, not nearly all, but usually that's a good amount. They also said, quote, and some of our challenges are unique to Epic. Despite Fortnite remaining one of the most successful games in the world, we have challenges delivering consistent Fortnite magic with every season. We're only in the early stages of returning to mobile and optimizing Fortnite for the world's billions of smartphones, and in being the industry's vanguard, we have taken a lot of bullets in a battle, which is only in the early days of paying off for ourselves and all developers, unquote. I'm not. I don't know. It's one of those things of. I understand where they're coming from. Of Fortnite Mobile probably has been a money sink. It's probably been a sinkhole, but I don't know if you're gonna get that revenue back. If you're sinking so much, if it's a small amount, okay, I can see you making it back. But if you sink 7 or more than 7 figures, if you're sinking like high 8, low 9 figures into that game, I don't know if you're gonna make that. Not easily. They've also said that they are sunsetting a couple things like Fortnite Rocket League, Fortnite Ballistic, Fortnite Battle Festival, and I think there may have been one other. But they're sunsetting a couple things that were really gimmick modes. Ballistic is a very short, like, couple round, basically Valorant, just Fortnite, which is great. But there's community made things that are better and longer that I would take. More weapons, better weapons, longer rounds, better, like, things that are vaulted, unvaulted, to just make it a more diverse loot pool. Like, just things like that. So, in the Rocket League thing, I never played. I didn't think it was going to last more than a month, and it lasted forever. I mean, you're not going to out Rocket League. In the short term, you may get people going, "Ooh, this is interesting," but you're not going to keep people long term in any way. And then Battle Stage also was something that I feel like overstayed its welcome. I didn't see a lot of long term value in playing it. Not much replayability. That's just me. I don't. It's basically a Guitar Hero in Fortnite. It's what it is. But I don't know. This one is definitely interesting. We'll see how this impacts Fortnite, because it has kind of been at a, it's not as strong as it's been at times past. It's definitely not as strong as it was in the end of Chapter 1, beginning of Chapter 2, from what I remember. It doesn't feel nearly as strong in terms of, like, the way people talk about it and everything. I'm having a bit of fun with playing the new mode. I hate that it's Marvel now. Blitz, but Blitz I am liking. Shorter games, more or smaller map, quicker, more things to shoot at. It's a little more entertaining to me at times than the longer games, because sometimes I want those shorter games. I think Blitz is a good mix of that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes in the short term and the long term. We'll see how Epic kind of rebounds, what they do if they actually listen to the player base and make some things better if they need to. And I'll see you later.